Hi there, welcome back to the 1964 Chevy Impala SS Lowrider build. This is part 2. Today we're going to cover bare metaling the chrome trim on the body. The video's a little long. There was a lot of footage that I had to condense into really quick footage. Try to stay with me as best as you can. It's pretty straightforward. The video isn't that bad. It's just faster than I wanted it to be, and I had a lot of footage before I started the film. So yeah, editing took a while, and let's hop on down to the bench and get started. Okay, so here we go. Starting to bare metal foil. What I like to do is I like to set it down on the highest spot that I'm foiling, and I'll take a Tamiya pointed cotton swab to push it down in the crevices. And then I'll take my knife and make relief cuts so I can fold it around. As you can see, there it is. Next, I'll start with the horizontal piece. On this window, it's a separate frame, so I like to do them window frame by window frame sort of thing. I'll also use a toothpick to help push in the crevices and corners. Usually I round it off with a sanding stick to make it less sharp so it doesn't pierce the foil. Here I am making more relief cuts so I can push the foil in place. Smoothing it out now. And there we go. Okay, time to do the long strip along the bottom. And I missed this piece, so I'm just doing that now. This was a complex piece. It had two pieces that needed to be foiled on the inside, so cutting it was a little difficult, but I managed to make it happen after I smoothed it out nicely. As you can see, taking my toothpick to smooth it, using my finger. As you can see, it's smoothing out nicely, getting it to conform to all the curves. Making my relief cuts. Okay, here we go. Gonna cut our bare metal foil. There's our scissors that we use for it, Tamiya decal scissors. My design knife, I like using that. It's a little bit more maneuverable. And here's our body with our window frame. All right. I had to replace just the top strip now. So this was another compound curve, and it was on an exterior surface, so I had to make sure I took great care in smoothing it out and cutting it. We'll get into my methods for cutting it in just a second. As you can see, my Tamiya pointed cotton swab. I mean, these things are amazing to use. I love them. Just folding it in the inside, making everything nice and smooth along where I'm going to cut. Just working it in, taking my time, making sure it's nice. I like to cut from the middle of the foil. I find doing this, it tears less. Once you have that first cut, it's kind of easy to make the rest. And very light cuts. Don't try to scratch the plastic, just try to cut the foil. So here we are going for the final piece of window trim. Like I said, I wanted to use bare metal on this car because there was quite a bit of chrome trim that I can't really replicate with paint. So I wanted to give this a try just to see if I can make something happen and make it look better. So far I think it's turned out pretty good. Here we go. Sorry for not being on camera. I'm still getting used to this YouTube stuff. So now we're going to start the rear window. I like to do my vertical pieces first, and then my horizontal pieces, I find they flow better that way. I don't know if that makes any sense. They just look better when I do them like that. If I do the horizontal pieces first, I usually mess them up. It doesn't look as nice. So here we go. Making my cuts. Just whisper cuts. You don't need to go hard. You don't need any force on the blade almost at all. just smoothing it back in place. Oh, there's my head. Hi everyone. Just peeling the final piece off the foil there and smoothing it back. This creates a really nice appearance. There's my other vertical. I wanted to make sure I got it on there smooth with no wrinkles. Just so it makes things easier when you do it that way and it looks better. So why not, right? Here we go with my relief cuts. Just folding it in here. Again, off camera. My trusty Tamiya cotton swab doing its work. And you can see it's coming out pretty nice there. It's looking pretty good already. So now just light whisper cut from the middle. Remember, from the middle, that's the key to the bare metal foil, I find. If you cut it from the middle, you have no problems whatsoever. So here we go, just peeling the excess away. I had a little piece I didn't get, so just a little small whisper cut. Okay, now we are starting the horizontal pieces for the back window. Yeah, basically the same as before, except that these pieces kind of can run continuously horizontally past the window because there's trim that runs along the bottom portion of the roof. So here I am just smoothing it out and getting it all into place, cutting my excess away, folding it under the back of the roof, or the trunk I should say, smoothing it out some more, just making sure I've got everything in place and where I want it, and nice and smooth. Another thing that came in handy here as I'm cutting, reference photos. I used a lot of reference photos for the chrome trim just to make sure I could get it properly everywhere I wanted it. As you can see, it tore a little bit there. I didn't scribe all the way through, so lightly I just cut some and peeled the rest of the way slowly. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but it came out pretty good. Now we're doing the top portion of the back window. Smoothing it out. Just using the toothpick to push it down. Cutting my relief cuts. Pushing everything into place. And then from the middle, just lightly taking my knife and cutting through the foil. I find that a design knife is really handy for this. It's a little bit more maneuverable than the Modeler's Knife Pro, which I also have. And it's good for precise cuts like this, I find. Also, a magnifizer comes in really handy for work like this also. Here we are starting the rest of the trim. Just pushing along with the toothpick, getting it nicely in place. And cutting away the excess. Just taking my time, whisper cuts, barely touching the foil. Sharp blade is good too. The sharper the blade, the better. Next we start doing the window on the passenger side. Same as before, just starting off with the toothpick, pushing everything into place. Getting everything down and where I like it and nice and smooth. Usually afterwards I go over it with the pointed Tamiya cotton swab. I use those quite often. I find they smooth everything out and make it really look nice, the chrome. Just pushing it in, smoothing it out. There's my relief cuts. And just light whisper cuts, nothing hard. Your blade should be sharp enough where you should just be able to touch the foil and it should cut right through. So here we go. Starting to peel away the excess now. Beauty. And I'm just doing a final smooth out, making sure everything is down and where I want it. So here we go again. The drip edge on the window we're doing here, so we're just getting the bottom end of it. Just making sure everything's where I need it to be. Remember, take your time, folks. Like, don't rush anything. This is all sped up for TV, I guess. This is hours and hours of work. And getting ready to make our cuts now. Just pushing in where I've made my relief cuts, so I have no problems. And here we go, light whisper cut. Just running the edge of the blade along the foil. No force at all, just light cuts, folks. This one was a little difficult than usual. Just peeling away the excess now, smoothing it all out. And the final part of the trim. It's more intimidating than what it actually is. Once you start doing it, you kind of get a really good feel for things fast, I think. This isn't difficult. It's just something you have to take time and have patience with. Here we go. Cutting away the excess now on the top, which is the white portion. Just making the final cut now. And now we're jumping to the front of the window. I lost some footage, sorry folks. Just as we did before on the other window. Putting it on the high spot and smoothing it into the low spots. Making sure there's no bubbles or creases or anything ugly on the chrome. Here I just kind of generally worked my way area by area across the car from top to bottom. I found this was easy and it allowed me to cover the most amount of area at one time. So you might want to keep that in mind when you go to apply your bare metal foil. Here I am again with that complex ridge at the front here. But we got it to stick down nice. It looks good. Just smoothing it in, making sure that it's touching everywhere. Pushing it in with the toothpick. Okay, time to start cutting. So I'm just trying to be as gentle as possible with the blade and cut as straight as possible also. Just finishing off my cuts here. Peeling off the excess and using it again at the bottom. The bottom was a little bit easier. It was just one ridge, so it was pretty much easy to get it down and looking properly. So again, using the toothpick to push everything down, and then coming in with the cotton swab just to make sure and smooth everything. A couple relief cuts and peeling away some excess, and just like that. And for the final part. And all smoothed out. Now for the long edge. I guess that would be where the window would come out of the door. Not sure what that's called. I'm not too familiar with parts and names and stuff, so bear with me. Just take my toothpick, push everything down, make sure it's all stuck to where I need it. Using my cotton swab to smooth everything out. And quick cut. From the middle to the end. And peel away, simple as that. Just making sure everything's nice. Smoothing it out with the cotton swab and the toothpick, getting in there and pushing everything down too. And next, we are onto the door handle. I was very scared to do this at first. I had never really done bare metal foil over door handles, and I don't have too much experience with it to begin with. This is only my second time ever using it. So, yeah, I just kind of put it on the high spots and kind of worked it over and made it smooth and nice. And as you can see, I'm smoothing it out here. Pushing everything down with the toothpick. And now I'm starting my cuts. I was very careful here not to scratch or slip. Nobody wants that. And peeling away the excess, it came up pretty good. So now we're jumping to the trim. This is a long portion and pretty straight, so it's pretty easy and straightforward to do. You just gotta make sure everything's pushed down nice and your blade's sharp. I had a couple pieces I needed to replace on this portion because my blade wasn't sharp enough and it tore the foil. So to avoid that, always make sure your blade's sharp and don't cut the bare metal foil with a dull knife. Simple as that. Just carefully making my way across the door panel with the knife. Like I said before, nobody wants your knife blade to slip. You'll ruin the finish on your body and you'll have to start from square one all over again because you'll have to sand and putty everything smooth out all over. So I took my time and I was very careful while I was cutting these pieces in particular. You can see that I'm making sure to get through the foil. My knife might have been getting a little bit too dull at this point, but not dull enough where I needed to change it, so I kind of kept on going with it. So now we're peeling off the bottom portion, and as you can see, it tore on me, but it didn't tear to the point where it tore off where I needed it, so I was able to take my knife blade and properly cut along, and gladly I didn't scratch it. As you can see, I was checking there, so luckily no harm done. I'm just working off the excess, just taking my time, and then smoothing it back out afterwards, making sure everything's pressed down and it looks good. There we go. There we go. So let's start with the other side. I started with the trim on the other side first. I worked from back to front on this side. On the other side, I worked from front to back. I don't know if it made a difference. I think really it doesn't really matter where you start. It's all about the sharpness of your blade and the preciseness of your cuts. So a magnifier comes in key, and taking your time and having patience does as well. So here we go, starting with the back of the car, peeling away the excess. I had to work around the gas cap here, so I kind of went to the gas cap and then from the gas cap, so I could cut around the gas cap so I could panel line later. Yeah, like I said, from the middle of the foil to the end, you'll have less tearing that way, and your bare metal foil, will stay in place. So here we go from the gas cap to the door. This one didn't really take a whole long time. It wasn't a long process. I had all the foil pre-cut for this, so I could just grab it and go. And then Yeah, I'm just smoothing it in and getting it looking properly. Took a majority of the time, but yeah, came out pretty good. Here we go now, just cutting away the foil, the excess foil. And now we're peeling it away. And I'm just smoothing it in, kind of making it blend into the other piece of foil so you don't really see it. If you smooth it out good enough, you will not notice. Just peeling it away. Real easy stuff. Cutting and peeling, that's all we're doing here, guys. And just a little bit of excess there. Just making sure it's cut so I can cut it away. And there we go, peeled away. All in all, came out pretty good so far. So, I figured you guys got the idea with the trim already. It was getting a little old. So, I decided to do the back end of the car. There's a big chrome section on the back end. So this took a couple of applications, but I eventually got it. I found with myself that I had to get a piece that was much bigger than normal and push it in the middle first and then smooth it out everywhere. I went about that and it went pretty fine. Cutting it away was pretty easy. You just had to take careful cuts and very light cuts so you don't scratch your paint job. But as you can see, it's going pretty well so far and not really a whole lot of problems. Just working on peeling it away. The shot's kind of out of focus. I'm getting used to my new camera, folks, so give me a couple of episodes of filming and I should have everything worked out soon. So here I am, just smoothing out what I've cut away, or smoothing out what I still have there after I've cut away the excess. I really wanted the Chevrolet lettering to stand out, so I really focused some time on pushing all the foil down around that. And here we go, cutting away the rest of the excess on the other side. I had to do a little bit of patchwork on this one. Probably could have used a sharper knife blade in hindsight, but that's always 2020, so that's probably why I had that little mess up there. But I fixed it. It looks good. You don't even notice it on the back. We'll take a look in just a minute. So just cutting away the excess here. Just whisper cuts. You just got to touch the foil and run the blade across the foil with no pressure. Peeling it all away and smoothing it back in place. Sometimes it moves slightly, but it doesn't move very much. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's major. There we go. Pretty good look at the back end. I think so far it's looking pretty good. And then we moved on to the hood. So the hood was probably the easiest part, just because I didn't really have to turn the piece around to cut it or put it in an awkward position to get it cut. As you can see, I'm wearing my Magnavisor for this one. Since it was on the hood, I wanted to make sure my cuts were extremely precise and that I wasn't going to mess anything up and have to do some major work to restart. So yeah, here I am just smoothing it out and getting it pushed into place. It's a pretty flat surface. There wasn't really much pushing into place I really needed to do. I mean, the toothpick took care of most of the work. So I could just cut like right after using the toothpick. I didn't have to use the cotton swab on this particular piece. So just looking at what I'm doing, carefully taking my time, systematically working my way around the piece of foil that I want to leave. Peeling it away as I get it cut away. So as we peel this last piece away, we're going to jump down to my photo booth next to take a look at our work and see how we're coming along. and then we'll jump back to the bench and I'll give you a preview as to what we're doing in the next video. Okay, let's jump down to the photo booth. Okay, see you guys there. Okay, so there you have it. We just finished off the bare metal foil on the 64 Impala. Next episode I'll be covering the clear coat and probably going to start painting up the rest of the interior and getting ready for some flocking.